Hi, and welcome to another live session with myself, Darren from Elite EDM Stars. Good afternoon, hope you're all well. And today we're going to follow on from what I did last week, which was live looping and how to transition from one track into another track when you're trying to create sort of a live looping session, something that you can actually perform live on stage. So without further ado, I'm not going to mess around. I'm just going to get straight into it. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to explain what I'm going to do, and then I'm literally just going to do it on the fly. So let me just switch screens, and I'll be with you in a second. Okay, so last week we covered an introduction to live looping. And part one, I introduced you to starting a session in clip view, creating some loop scene variations, then track building and breakdown sections, and adding effects plugins on subgroups and master chain, and then effects controllers. And didn't really go into macros in great detail. I'm going to leave that for another session, completely separate video on that altogether. So this is what we did on the arrangement. Started out with a bass, looped half of the bass, got a full bass section there, and then a loop section coming out again. Some different kick drums coming down, different slight variation on the pattern, only minimal, some kicks missing. I haven't really built this up as a live intro yet. There's a lot more I could do to it live. There's a lot more I could do to the kicks and the patterns and the rolls. I haven't had any snare rolls in there yet. I'm yet to do those kind of things and transitions. I may do that at another stage on a third video on this one, adding some sort of snare rolls and effects coming into it that way. But this is just me showing you how to put together a simple live session idea with a few drums, a effects stem track, so that I can just drop any effect onto these stems as I move down into different tracks. I can start to look for different effects to transition through. And what I'm looking to do is just sort of, because there's such a lot going on the looping, on the live section, on all of these controllers, there's a lot to sort of think about. So you have to try and minimize what you're trying to do in terms of transitioning to another track. Now, before I do sort of move on to transitioning onto another track, last week we had some MIDI controller issues going on. I did record a live session just to try and create a live sort of a track arrangement from this. So that's one way of like coming up with a track on the fly, which is what I did. Now you can see all of these automations, they're going to affect what I'm trying to do. So I'm literally just going to take all of this out, and I'm also going to clear envelopes, and I'm just going to check a few other things to make sure there's nothing. There we go. I want to clear those envelopes, and I'm just going to make sure there's nothing on the delays or on the master out. Okay, so now I've cleaned that up, I can go back to this arrangement view. I don't want any internal effects that I've sort of recorded messing around with that, basically. So what I've come up with is an idea of transitioning, and just before I do move on to this transition, I want to quickly show you why I had a few MIDI things going on as well. So we're going to go into the MIDI mapping section of live, and you can see, for example, here on this subgroup, somehow a MIDI controller made its way to the subgroup. Now if you look at my controllers on the left hand side here, you can see that I've got 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55. Now what I did find out is that the controllers on my APC 25 pad here, or the mini pad, they're exactly the same controllers actually on the rotational knobs on this particular keyboard here. So unfortunately, when I was assigning certain controllers to one, the same controller was doing the same thing, so I've had to sort of slightly switch this up a little bit. And because this mixer won't let me actually map anything, it's literally fixed to Ableton. I've had to literally go around now and try and understand a lot more about the mixer, what's going on with each control, what it can actually do, and how it can trigger things in Ableton. So it means I'm actually going to have to set up for my next session, hopefully, is I'm going to set up my Novation remote controller over there. So I'm going to try and get that set up for the next session and be able to sort of do a lot more things, because I've got a lot more sliders and controllers and things I can assign individually, and I need that more control. But this is very basic at the moment. I'm just keeping it simple just for you guys, just to go through. But I just wanted to make that clear, that the reason I was having problems is because of these mappings here. Right, so moving on, what I wanted to introduce into this is a little drum machine that I'm going to use, as well as playing some MIDI. I've got an arpeggiated bass line here that I'm going to use to transition out of this track into this next section I've started to create here. So I've got a piano for that, and then I've just literally dropped out from the rhythms into just the effects stem to carry across, and then I'm going to play in a bass line pattern live to transition through. And to carry it through, I've got this little drum kit that I did in a video yesterday on drum programming, and it was part 4. So if you haven't seen that, head over and watch that. And that's a little plugin called Instant House by Alex Kidd, and it allows me to, what I've done first of all is got into Command K, and I've assigned the letter or the number 1 here on the left hand side, just to switch the drum machine on and off. So when I press 1 on my keyboard, it just activates it on and off when I want that drum machine to come in. I can then assign also these here, these to letter P. I'm going to assign that to letter N, and I'm also going to assign letter V for velocity. Those are just the 3 I want for the moment. Okay, so that allows me to change the patterns of these. I can obviously use the mouse and click them, but it just lets me do them on the fly. Now when I do press the patterns, I don't want to do it just yet, because I don't want to reset the pattern again. I want to start and then show you later on that section. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just literally play this through, and I'm going to record the new bass line coming in on the fly. I shall record the MIDI clip on the fly and show you, then go back and explain of actually what I've done. So just to show you, I've got an arpeggiated bass. It's a string ting arpeggio bass. It's meant to be a string sound, but it actually sounds nice as an arpeggio. So I'm going to remind you what the track sounded like from last week. Just going to play through the stems, do a little bit of sort of live controlling on the filters and stuff, and then I'm going to mix into this little section into here. So let's get started. Okay, right, what I'm going to do now, something wasn't actually working there for some reason. There we go, it's come back on. So the drum beat didn't actually come on and carry through as I wanted to. So I was just going to, what I'm going to do again, I'm just going to go and transition from this section and transition into this section, what I wanted to actually do. So just making sure that everything is lined up. Okay guys, so what I would do now is literally on the fly, what I've done is I've armed my track down here. I've made sure I've gone into my track arm, and what I would have done is I would have just hit the MIDI clip where I wanted to record it on the fly, and then just triggered the track again. So I'm just going to do that again just to show you. Okay, so as you can see, I pretty much just did that on the fly. I'm not brilliant at playing the keys, but I have been trying to practice a little bit more. So pretty much, as I say, I've just done that. I've recorded the bass line on the fly, and then I've just thrown it in on the loop. Obviously I just missed the first note there. Again, it's just practicing and timing. You've got to get this right. You've got to sort of trigger things. So you've just got to know where everything is on your mixer and on your little trigger pads. You've got to know where your track arms are, your record arms. You've just got to think about it logically, about how do you want to do things on the fly. So, you know, you can even cue this into the headphones and send it to a send channel so you can listen to it beforehand before it comes in. It's just literally throwing things in there live in the mix. You can see a few bum notes there which I could just take out. But that's pretty much sort of one way of transitioning through a track. So, everybody around? No. Okay, so another way would be to go with a string to find another musical element, something like a stab, for example. So what I could also then do is I would go into, I know the key of the track is in G, so I'm going to go into my samples. I'm going to type G, I think it's G sharp. Yep. So G sharp. So it helps to narrow down everything pretty much it's going on in your sample banks. And I'm going to type in the word stab and see what comes up. Okay, so I like that one. So what I might do is I might bring this in. Where could we bring in a new MIDI? And I want this on as a trigger. Okay guys, so that's again another way of transitioning through. So just finding an element. All I did there was literally put it into an audio, I put time warp on, I put it into a loop, and I changed the loop length position so it's just one bar and it triggers through. And I just literally turned up the send right the way up, and I made sure that my delay has got a nice sort of around about 48–50% feedback, just so it carries through enough just to carry it through, and it starts to tail off, because you've got to remember when you use delay, it creates duplicate amplitude on your sound. So straight away, as soon as you apply that delay, your amplitude of that that sound is actually just increasing massively. So you've got to be mindful of that as well. So again, obviously adjust it down in the mix appropriately. I've got about -10 decibels, and it's about just trying to piece together something to carry the track through and move into the next section. So if you've got any questions, obviously please do leave them for me. I'm going to leave this as a pretty much short session today. I just wanted to complete that transitioning section. There will be a few other things I'm going to do in a second. I'm just going to use it, find another effect and see if we can do something like that. So in this case, I'm going to say, I don't know. Let's type in impact, see if we get anything in impact in G sharp. I doubt we will. Impact. We might do. Yeah, we got something in G, so we can pitch that. So I'm just also with this Alex Kidd, I'm going to put a little bit of compression onto it because it's quite quiet in the mix. I didn't actually set this up with anything. I just literally left it dry. But I just wanted to show you this drum kit. I'm going to go into this again now. I did it in yesterday's session, but I'm just going to do this and show you how you could use this to transition as well. It's another way of doing it, but let's just tidy up what I was going to do here. So just going to take that away because I won't be able to get the effects. I just want to put a compressor on there. Okay, so what I've done there, I've used a Final Glow plugin from the effects rack out of the Drive and Glow section from Max for Live. These are extra plugins from Ableton Live. I'm going to do a session on that one of the days as well, just going through some of the packs that you've got inside there, which are brilliant. I've got a few different things here like probability and stuff. So I'm going to show you those one of the days and how you can get creative with those. But I'm just going to play through this Alex Kidd, and I'm going to play through this with the stab and show you how I could change the beats and change the rhythm up before I drop into the piano. So I'm just going to play it out, and I think that'll pretty much wrap it up for today's session, guys. I just wanted to do a nice quick short sharp session on this just to wrap up last week's session, and then I'm going to actually do some new stuff. So fingers crossed. Oh right, okay, maybe you did not hear me then. Just in case, I'm just going to repeat what I said. That's a plugin I use from the Drive and Glow section. It's a Creative Live plugin, and I'll show you those one of the days. I'm going to go into a whole session on all of these plugins like probability packs and stuff. But what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to transition through with this. And I just want to leave this as a, pretty much a short half an hour session today, 45 minutes tops. And I'll come back next week with some more stuff. I've got a lot of different sessions I want to go through with, and start doing some stuff about acoustics one of the days in the next few weeks, hopefully. And I'm also going to be doing this some sessions on these creative extensions. I've been playing around with these, so I want to show you a few things to get creative with those as well. So I'm going to play it out, guys, with this, and that's pretty much wraps it up for today. I just wanted to sort of show you a couple of ways of transitioning through and minimalising in what you've got. As I say, I could go through with a string as well. This was another example I was going to show you. So let's just switch over to the string. Right, that went slightly a bit wrong there. I just didn't realise then. Of course, my kicks. I need to trigger this one over here. It's just remembering that I've got my screen split, so you can see obviously this yellow mark around here is this keypad that's down on this side, or this trigger pad, and then the red one is that one. So what I should have done is hit that kick there and not that, because that triggered the bass line. Obviously, I didn't want to do that. Normally, I wouldn't do that. I was just sort of throwing some hats and stuff in live. What I would do is I would obviously work down my pattern and start rebuilding my pattern and duplicating that up, and maybe start bringing the clap back. That is similar. And you get the picture, and so on and so forth. So I'd start building my next scenes up. Obviously, I've named them. Sometimes what I do is I put a blank scene. I just insert a blank scene between them, and I name that just so I'm separating my tracks. And sometimes I put a row of MIDI right across there and separate my screen. What I will do one of the days, if I can recover my full live set I did, I had about 12 tracks in a live set. If I can recover that one of the days, I will, and get it to work. I will try and show you how I'd got the whole thing set up. And I got 12 tracks literally running all the way down, and I was triggering them and pretty much did a whole mix on the fly. And it was sort of prepared. I try and prepare my elements before, but it's good as well if you want to improvise and play in some bass lines and things like that, and some strings and stuff over the top. You've got to try and make it more interactive as well as just sort of triggering and firing samples. So that's wraps it up for me today, guys. It leaves me to say have a great weekend and stay safe, stay warm. It's still cold out there. It's still UK weather. Catch you soon.